right. Hey, guys, it's your Blueline group with your Blueline Wives Roll Call podcast. I am Shannon Gilbert with Emerge Real Estate.
I'm Jamie Wright with Wright Dalbo Insurance.
And I'm Amy Lewis with Priority Mortgage.
And we are coming to you live from LEPD Firearm and Range on Bethel Road right here in Columbus, Ohio.
For those of you that don't know who we are a dedicated team of law enforcement families specializing in real estate, lending, title, and insurance services, fervent about creating ongoing professional relationships and giving back to our first responder families.
Yes, good morning, ladies.
Boom.
Yes.
I needed no prompt. There was no blooper about that.
That's how
Thank
my
you
gosh,
very
yes,
much.
right. No bloopers this morning.
How is everybody today?
Good. How
So,
are you guys?
I'm feeling a little something on my heart this morning because I'm in a season, y'all. And I've had a couple of different people recently reach out and just kind of, I mean, you have like your good girlfriends that you go to and you just vent or you talk about your day. And it's your safe place to just
Tell them whatever.
Be your heart.
Yeah, you
Be
know what
yourself.
I mean? And
Yeah.
you can complain and nobody's going to judge you or anything like that. So yes, it's great to have that outlet, absolutely, because you definitely need it. But so I'm in this season of life and I've gone through a whole lot in the past year. Buying and selling a house, opening a business, having a baby or opening a business, being postpartum, opening a business. So a lot of things have been happening. And, you go through having the newborn and you're not sleeping and, the things that you do in your life that are just absolutely insane. Like I was literally insane. Like it just, everything was gross. I say all that to say that, so we got through the first year, which is really, really, really hard. You remember that first year?
Not really.
Yeah, it's been so long ago.
I
So-
was thinking about that the other day when my kids were really little.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't remember anything.
But I
feel like
promise you
missed
enjoy
out.
it.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong.
They grow up
I know.
for
And
teenagers.
I love
then
it
adults.
right now. And she's so squishy and cute and this and that, but we put her in daycare this week along with my son started school again. So we were like, yay, structure. Woohoo.
Yeah,
and we
true.
all know that most humans do well in structure, but especially law enforcement families. But that's throwing off her schedule because her sleep schedule is not the same and this and that and the other. And it's just a lot. So anyway, she didn't sleep last night. Didn't sleep.
Oh, that's rough.
And so we were up all night long. My husband wakes up with a head cold. so bad.
You woke up this morning, or
It came on last night. He wasn't feeling well when we got up to help our daughter. So anyway, I'm operating on a couple hours of sleep. I got my son to school. I got her to daycare. I'm here. I went into the office this morning. All of those things happened. And I really could have just lost it. And I was actually like super thankful that my husband was sick. I don't mean that. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm just saying it gave us the opportunity to let my daughter sleep in. So her schedule could reset.
Yeah.
So she didn't have to get up so early to go. So she was able to kind of sleep in. So that way he could be home with her. So I could go and get her and take her to daycare and the whole 9 yards. So that all worked out. But I just want to say, ladies, that I know that there are a lot of you struggling with the exhaustion piece and trying to do all of the things. You have got to give yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're hearing me and if that resonates with you right now, and if you want to cry, just go for it. Because it's true for all of us. Like
It's a stress reliever.
yeah,
It is.
you've got to give yourself some grace. It's not ever going to be perfect. It's not ever going to be pretty. Sometimes it's pretty.
so how many cups of coffee have you had this morning?
I had a half a cup of coffee and then I had an Arbonne Fizz.
I must say you kind of came in wired, but I'm the same way when I stay up all night.
I
I feel like you can just like run a marathon, but you're so exhausted.
no, it's like I got to get through this.
You'll sleep really, really good tonight.
You will.
Like I'm just charging through, you know what I mean?
You will.
Just have one of those days, but it all kind of puts it in perspective as well, because there's so many times in our life when we are, I like the metaphor of the arrow, you're pulled back in order for you to be shot forward. So, there's I don't want to say rebirth, but like there is a time in your life when you go through a lot of things, but you come out on the other side a completely new person and a better perspective on life. And I mean, the identity crisis that I've been through in the past year, but it's all been a very wonderful experience in retrospect. And when I was in it, it was really difficult, but it's been wonderful. And I'm able to have this perspective this morning that I have to give myself some grace because I don't want to be angry all day.
That's a choice. That's a choice.
Yeah.
But God gives you grace every day, all day, no matter what you do, what you say, or what's going on in your life.
Yeah. And if you listen, you'll hear him tell you.
Yes, but you have to be quiet.
Yes.
You have to take that time to give him a chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
But you are given these trials to make you a better person, make you more Christ-like in your faith.
Right.
So it's okay to have trials. They're not God doing it to you. That's just life, and that's how you learn to be a better person and more Christ-like.
Yeah. They're learning opportunities.
There you go.
Very
Learn.
much
But again-
teaching you a lesson of some type.
Yeah. Give yourself some grace.
Yes.
That's my whole, I say all of that to say, please give yourself some
At
grace.
the end of the day, give yourself some grace coming
Yes.
from Jamie.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I came here, I got my lipstick on. I was good.
Yeah.
Went to work this morning.
But I think
I got my oils on.
those experiences teach you how to be humble too.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. If anything, they teach you how to be humble.
Yes,
They do.
yes.
So we have questions that our
Yeah.
viewers had asked. So I guess we each have some questions that we took from our Facebook or email or our Twitter. So Jamie, do you want to go with your first question?
Sure. Okay. So I had two. I don't know.
We may not get to them all because you guys know how we like to talk and we get into like really big subjects and we just go on and on. So we may not get to everything, but we'll do our best.
So this one was a little bit different because it actually came from the spouse of a female police officer. So I thought this would be good for us to kind of relate to him because we're females. My wife is a police officer, so perhaps this isn't in your realm of things, but I thought I would ask. I'm just your average man. I don't require much in return as far as emotions go, but sometimes I feel like she's either completely closed off to me or she's in a highly emotional state. It's frustrating because we seem to be on two different pages, maybe even two different books at times. We have 2 kids and 0 time together. How can I help? First of all, I was like, how can I help? That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So
At the same time, I get his frustration.
yeah. I mean, even though it came from a male perspective, I mean, we still go through all of this as well.
Yeah, spouses of Leos for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, do you guys have female officer friends?
I do.
Okay. So can she be closed off and then highly emotional at the same time? Or
No, I think she's actually well-rounded.
Yeah?
Was an individual that I'm talking about. Yeah, I definitely think she's well-rounded. Actually, she's a Licking County deputy. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Maybe
I do.
know
I
who
think
you're
she's, I think she's well-rounded actually.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't ever really know what happens behind closed doors.
Right.
But I think that a lot of that is also, take this lightly, but it's also being a female, right? So being a female, we come with a whole different set of hormones and a whole different set of emotions and a whole different set of instinctual
Yes,
traits.
instincts. Yep.
Yeah. So,
And a whole set of mood swings.
right. That's what
Seriously, we're
well, that's the
females.
hormone
For
part.
different, for different reasons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we release different
Right. We're
things
happy and
than
sad
men.
all in the same moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of that is just attributed to being a female. The closed off section, absolutely, I think being a PO too. Because we deal with that. We deal with, our husbands at times being closed off. And I know that there's a lot of times I'm like, well, if you just tell me what's going on with you, then I can help you.
And I think they get tired too. Like they work their normal job, special,
Yeah. Overtime.
overtime. Yeah. Court.
Yep.
So I just think they get exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of that's being a human being as well. But I think, so his question is, how can I help?
Right. So I think sometimes people just need a moment to process.
Need their
things.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be offended if she comes home and says, I just need 20 minutes to myself. Maybe You know, do her nightly routine, shower, sit down, do what she
Yeah.
needs to do.
Offer to be there for her if she wants to talk. Oh, maybe give her a massage. Maybe she would open up during like a deep tissue massage.
I know I would.
Me too. Like, what you want here, baby?
I mean, really ask her how
Yeah.
you can help her. Because even if she's not interested in telling you at that moment, just keep asking her, because that will stay with her. You know, he's asking me how he can help. And eventually she'll be like, you know what? That's how he can help me.
Well, wait a minute. We're females. Like, we expect them to know what we want.
Yeah. I want you to want to wash the dishes.
Don't point out our flaws.
I'm just saying.
But in the instance where it's a closed off moment for her or for them and you don't know what to do, just say, you know what, how can I help you? How can I help you today? Or if you know what she's got going on that day, you know, can I help you with your schedule? What can I help you with in your schedule? How can I make this day easier for you, so I can take on some of that for you? Because that, I think, goes a really, really long way.
But I think you were right when you touched on you should know what we want. I would say what would be huge help to me is if somebody just did something for me without even asking, can I do this for you? Don't ask, just do it. If you see the sink is full of dirty dishes and you know I have to run out to do something, if you're sitting there watching TV and there's still a sink full of dirty dishes, you might
Right.
want to think that would be a help to her and relieve a little stress off of her.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just generally speaking goes without question.
That
But
could be anybody.
you also need to understand your spouse's love language. So like that would be great because I would feel like it was a relief that I didn't have to do it or complete it. But in order for me to feel loved, I don't really receive acts of service or gifts that well. So I need words of affirmation. I need to be touched. I need you to hold me and tell me it's going to be okay. And so that's how I receive love.
Not me.
Right,
Stay
it
out of
can
my
be.
space.
See, but that's the
Yep.
knowing part of how to reinforce love
Right.
to you and how you give love too. So that I think that's super
I think
important.
he's in a rough position because he's a male trying to reach out to his female spouse, which you're saying no, her love language. Girl, we change our love language every day.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
It depends what kind of mood I'm in.
Really?
Yeah, like if I don't feel well or have a headache, like give me my space. Depends if I feel like to be, lovey-dovey, let's spoon or let's hold hands. Just depends what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then that would be him knowing your daily.
Honey, who are you today?
Yeah. Like, what
Which
can I do?
mask?
What's going on with
Right.
you today? It was just
I just feel like it
communication.
depends. Like stress depends on which day. Like today, you have more of a stressful morning than you would
right.
tomorrow per se.
Right.
So today you're going to be more, I guess, on edge, lack of sleep, stress.
Yeah.
So maybe what normally works won't work today.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that's just, I think that's every day too.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point. If you have like a routine that you do every day, stick with it as much as you can, because that might be the only thing that you can hold on to as your routine, and it makes you feel whole and
Right.
makes your
Structure is
day-
normality.
Yeah.
Just say, honey, I noticed that you're really stressed. What can I do to help relieve some of that stress?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful words.
Unless your some
Does
spouse
Tim
is
ever say that
like,
to you? Does Tim ever offer to help relieve your stress, Amy? Should we see if he's watching first? Just kidding. Just kidding, Tim. We love
he
you.
is a very good husband.
I know, just
but he
kidding.
has his own needs and stresses and
that are different from yours.
I think the key to this is time and communication. It takes time to get to know people, and you really have to communicate to effectively
Right.
understand what your spouse needs. And
Right.
if you don't, you can't have the martyr attitude of
Yeah, and
you
that's
should
hard.
know. You can't have that attitude, and sometimes you just have to say, you know what? If you could just unload the dishwasher,
Right.
if you could go outside and mow the grass, so I could sit here. If you could fold the towels,
and I think too, like, we were just having this conversation the other day, but, putting your marriage first before yourself, or putting your spouse before yourself or your own needs, is really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that wasn't always modeled for everybody. You know what I mean? When we grew up, it was like, well, it had to be equal. If I do this, then you do this. If I do this for you, you do this for me. It wasn't ever just a selfless act of love. Like, marriage isn't 50-50. Marriage is like, sometimes it's 90-10, when your spouse needs that support during whatever time of their life that they're going through. So it's not always about, well, if I leave for 2 hours, then when I get back, you can leave for 2 hours and do whatever that you need. I mean, yeah, that works for somebody, but generally speaking, it's not always about equal time and equal play.
Yeah. I think you're touching on something that is more of like an American cultural thing.
Yes.
So if you look at other cultures, they view things very differently. Maybe they're not to be expressing their emotions. Maybe they're not to really have that communication. They have their set rules, whether it's cultural, religious, whatever.
Oh, I thought you meant in a social aspect.
Well, that too, but there's a lot that goes into it generationally. That we're talking to our generation right now. Generations ago, you were talking about we didn't have that that
'cause
role
women
model
stayed
for
home.
Yeah, it was a different time back
It's about
then.
people's beliefs, I guess. Like touches on the religion.
You have to do what works best for you.
I mean, nobody can tell you how to run your household.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think when you're talking in specifics about your marriage, I mean, not necessarily like your routine and what works for you as far as that's concerned, but when you're talking about your marriage and how to make those things work, I mean, I think it's pretty important to keep reminding yourself, like, this is a selfless act. Being married is a selfless act. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's not a selfish act.
And it's difficult.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Time and communication.
Very true. We hope we answered his question.
Yeah.
Oh, we could go on all
We
day.
could dive into
that.
I told you we wouldn't get to everything, right?
So do you want me to go, Amy, or do you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so my Leo refuses to go to any big function my family has because of some past poor choices a couple distant family members have made. Do you have any advice? I personally have gone through this. So my advice would be, I would just be honest with your family members, because it stinks every time you're at a function to have to explain to people, hey, where's George? Where's George? And you always have to explain, like, oh, he's that special. Or just be honest. Just like, listen, it's just he's a law enforcement officer. He just doesn't want to be around people who've made bad choices. And also, if he was there, would you really have a good time? You'd be sitting there on a table, not really talking to anybody, being miserable and making you miserable. So I say be honest and go without him.
That might actually lighten the load on your heart, too.
It would.
You know what I mean? Because you won't be so resentful of him for not being there. Just be like, hey,
just be honest.
He don't like you.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm not saying do that. I'm not. But in the whole grand scheme of things, that's kind of what you're relaying. Like, hey, he's just uncomfortable.
Right.
He's just uncomfortable in this situation.
Yeah.
So
just be honest, for sure.
So yeah, that might actually.
I think that happens to more people than who wants to admit it. There's a lot of people that don't want to be around certain types of behavior, whether it's past or present, and they don't have time for it. But a lot of the mentality of our people on the streets are, I deal with this all day, every day. I don't want to deal with it with my own family.
Right.
So it's not that they even want to address it. They want to just go on about their business and not have to be bothered with it.
And being a PO, first impression is everything. So even if they have changed, they never forget what they did do.
No,
what
absolutely
they did in the
not.
past. So.
Yeah.
And I think a good kind of motto to adopt with these particular situations is like, how important is it really? Like, it's kind of like when you get home and the dishes aren't done and you're like, I've done the dishes for 5 days in a row.
Yep.
Like, really, how important is the dishes?
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, I can tell you it's important for like functions, because I've been there where you feel like you're always alone, or they're like, are you sure you're married?
Sure.
Because, you really never attended.
Right.
If it's big functions like this, just because of, again, past choices that some family members have made. So it does get lonely. At the same time, instead of worrying about it, I just learned to deal with it, and I'm in a much better place.
But that puts the stress on you too.
It did, but I've learned to let it go.
Yeah.
Just be honest with my family and just move on.
Do you feel like that it puts you in the position, and I only say you because you said you've
Sure.
been in that position. Do you feel like that puts the stress on you? Like now you're having to make excuses for someone, or you're the bad messenger?
Well, that's why I started just to tell the truth, be honest, and just be done with it. Because that way you're not 10 people at a function's not asking you, hey, where's George?
See, that's not fair for the person who is going, because then you struggle with, am I honest? Do I worry about hurting people's feelings? That's putting you in that awkward position.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not always
so
fair.
I love that advice. Just be honest.
be honest, yeah.
That's kind of like anything in life.
right.
Well, really,
But
the truth will set you free.
Well, yeah, because it does lighten the load on your heart too.
Yeah,
like
it does.
And you don't go home mad at your spouse.
Sure.
Like, you just know they're just not going to be able to go.
Right, and like I said, even if they did go, you're really gonna have a good time. You're gonna be worried about, oh my gosh, what is he gonna say? Is he just
Anxiety.
gonna sit there?
Oh,
Is he just gonna talk to anybody? So it's just best to stay home.
Well, then you're going to get even more upset because he's not partaking in the event or whatever.
Just go by yourself and have an adult beverage and just be free.
Be free.
So my questions were, I'll try to wrap both of them up together, but they were more along the lines of, How do you deal with the mood swings, which kind of went along with yours? So we touched on that some. How do you deal with the mood swings? And then the second question was, my Leo is just starting out, and the spouse was feeling that there's a little bit of a lack of confidence. And how do you deal with
And herself or
no,
and
with
him?
the job? I think some of it too was related to how they were communicating together too. And I think the spouse was a little bit more worried. It's kind of the tone that I got through. I don't want to read the whole thing. It was kind of a long one, but the spouse was a little worried about the job, but felt that the Leo spouse maybe didn't have as much confidence as they were looking for.
So I'm assuming, is he still in FTO?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, giving him advice to maybe go talk to his FTO, maybe.
Don't you think that that's kind
Well,
of common?
Well, I think that it's common, but I think the spouse is really worried about it. And that's where the confidence needs to be built up in her. And so I started thinking about confidence. If she's more confident in her spouse's ability to do his job, and it happens to be a male and a female, and she's the one that is home, he's the officer. So I started thinking about confidence, because the one thing that I always say about my husband is one of the reasons why I never worried about him is because I had so much confidence in him and his ability to do the job.
But he had
His
confidence in
training.
himself.
Well, yes, he did. He was in the military for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
he's done this for 30 years. So, yes, he had a lot of confidence in himself. But I had the confidence in him, too, and I started thinking, how do you build up that confidence, and what do you do with that? How do you gain that confidence, and how do you talk to your spouse about that? So, confidence to me actually is not feeling like you have your own personal strength. Don't put your confidence in yourself as a person, but put your confidence in who you are as a child of God. Because I always go back to faith in everything that I do, if you haven't caught on to that yet. But confidence to me is being confident in who you are as a child of God and the things that you do, and knowing that your fate is not in your hands. Your fate is in his hands. And having, being able to have that relationship and building that confidence within.
Yeah. I
yourself
guess she
and
can
your
make him
choice.
little cards, too, put it on, like, the bathroom when he shaves. Like, you can do this.
Yeah.
Build up his confidence.
Yeah, you've been building up your spouse too,
Yeah.
and saying, not everything
Give him a little
is in your
text during the
hands.
day. You got this, babe.
Yeah, that went along a lot with yours. So you do that for your husband, don't you?
Well, he
You
does that
send
for
him
me.
texts.
Oh yeah.
You send him texts during the day with just like the little
Yeah.
hearts and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, Jim is good about that. Like, I always get notes.
Aw.
Yeah.
But how about the mood swing part of that? How do you deal with the mood swings?
What do you mean mood swings? Are you talking about females, or what are you talking about?
No, the mood swing of the Leo.
It's hard.
Yeah. See,
It's
that
hard.
touched on what you were talking about too.
Well, it's hard because it's ingrained in me, and I'm working on it. It's something that I don't. It might take a lifetime, but like, it's really hard not to take it personally. You know what I mean? Even though it has nothing to do with me at all, or I'll be like, like, how was your day? Fine. Okay. Well, his day was fine. Like, what happened? Why are you mad at me? So, sorry. So it is sometimes hard to that initial reaction to just let it kind of die down a little bit and just not take it
I
personally.
think not asking how was your day is a good start. And that's the
That was
first
an example.
The first thing that we always, but no, I do that. I do that to my kids. And so I was thinking about this too. And I thought, okay, when they walk right through the door, how was your day?
Yeah,
How was
we
your-"
all
I
do.
do it.
Yeah, I
I
do
do it. And then I started thinking, it's like, they don't want to talk about that. So why don't you say something like, did you make an arrest today? Did you make somebody smile today? Just think of alternative questions to ask instead of how was your day? Because I think that kind of cues people to just kind of, it was fine. It
Yeah.
gives them an easy way to say it was fine.
What do you want for dinner?
Yeah, well,
That
No,
will
that
work.
causes too much stress.
well, the
They
question
have
that
to
you're
think.
asking is either fine or not, not good
Right.
answer. So if you ask a question that's going to make
Yeah.
them kind of conversate.
That's a good
An,
idea.
an open-ended question
never
that makes
thought
them
about that.
elaborate on it and not take the easy way out. Yeah, it was fine. Leave me
Yeah.
alone.
Well,
So
yeah.
like, honey,
'cause-
when we go to bed tonight and we put the kids to bed, you could open-ended question, girl.
yeah,
get
no,
your
I like
answer.
that. Yeah, but I think it is hard sometimes to not,
Yeah.
take it personally.
And I
Sure.
think the mood swings stem a lot from there's so many highs and lows. And how do you deal with that when you come home and all of a sudden there's nothing going on?
Yeah.
There's no lights and sirens around.
Women
you,
are
so
different.
do that.
They're wired differently than women anyway.
Yeah.
So what we might take offense to, they're not going to. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, she always thinks I'm mad at her and nothing's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just us being females,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we did something when it could be nothing.
Your mind plays tricks on you.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
start thinking.
It's that female thinking.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Talking about females, let me skip to this question. We're talking about females. My Leo has a female partner, and although they are both married, I tend to get jealous that the female spends more time with my husband than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Has any of your Leos had a female partner, and if so, how did you cope with it?
Yes, on my part.
No.
No, he's never. So how did you?
Honestly, I was friends with her and I didn't care. I was like, just make sure you take care of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a little different situation. But we know that there has been a lot of negativity out there and there probably is a lot of jealousy. But make friends with your
Right.
spouse's partners. Become part of their
Right.
lives and their families too, and get to know their families.
I mean, I think that's really the only answer.
Yeah.
I do know a law enforcement family who did the male-female partners, and they just made them a part of their families. You know what I mean? They did everything together, like the kids all interacted together. So the wives became really like best friends. The female officer and then the spouse
Yeah,
of
right.
So I mean it really works for them too, because that way they kind of are able to help each other out
Right.
as well.
Well, I think that she would, even if it was a male partner, they're still spending that whole 8 hours with your spouse.
Oh, yeah.
5 days a week.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, to me, either a female or a male. I just think you just need to, like you guys said, be friends with her. But I think the question, she was saying that the female spends a lot more time with her husband than she does. So maybe she feels like she knows her husband more than she does. I don't know.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
But I think it could be with
Could
male
be.
too.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I remember my husband had a male partner, and both of the wives, me and the other wife, were pregnant at the same time. And that's all they talked about the whole time.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And then they became really good friends. To this day, our families are really good
Yeah.
friends because we were pregnant at the same time and they had so much in common
Yeah.
as partners that they just
Sure.
talked about all the
I mean,
time.
they're spending 40 hours a week. I mean, I
Yeah.
honestly can't say I spend 40 hours a week with my husband, 8 hours a day, just in a cruiser.
No, I couldn't
They
even
have
do
to
it.
talk a lot. They probably know each other's in and outs.
Yeah. I mean, you could get really caught up in that. You could get.
Yeah, but let's be honest. If we were in cruisers with our husbands 8 hour day,
I don't know. We wouldn't be married.
I agree with you on that. I don't think I could stay
Front
married.
page. Wife runs husband. I'm kidding. Runs husband. I'm
It would just
kidding.
be really challenging because
It
you
would be
get
challenging.
tired of people.
Yeah, you have to miss. I feel like they have to be away for you to miss them.
Yeah. I think that alone time is key too.
You'll get there, girl.
No. I mean, my husband.
She looks at us like, really?
Well, I think I'm starting to crash. But my husband's best friend is his partner, and so our families are friends. You know,
Wow.
we do things
Yeah.
together. So,
Does he ever get tired of them?
I think that just comes natural, doesn't it? When you hang out with somebody, like you become friends with them, and then your families become friends. And I mean, unless there's some ulterior motives
Right.
happening.
Well, hopefully you like him because they say that when you hang out with somebody that much, you turn into that person.
Yeah.
You start to pick up their bad
Yeah.
habits.
Yeah,
and their
yeah,
good
for
habits.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just hope that person can speak well into their lives and they're encouraging.
Always surround yourself with positive people who build you up.
Yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
Do you have any more questions, Amy?
No, I wrapped my two all into one. So.
I have. Do you have any?
I do, but we're out of time.
Oh, we got to get these questions really
Oh.
quick.
Okay.
all right.
Okay, so between my Leo's work, special duty in court, he's never home during daylight hours. So the kids and I barely see him. So when he is home, he wants to be the fun dad and take a back seat when it comes to disciplining our children.
That's what this one
I'm
was.
tired of always being the bad guy to them and the good guy. No, I'm tired of me being the bad guy and him the good guy in the eyes of our children.
Well, listen, that was 19 years of my life. So it was hard. It was really hard. And I was always the married single mom. So I get that. But you know, your husband has to also become an authority figure. The kids will not. I'm telling you this
Right,
in the
when they get
long
teenagers.
run. In the long run, you need to have a talk with your spouse because their children will not respect him if he is not having a part in the discipline and being part of the bad guy too. It's
Right.
it's not.
Do you
gonna
think they
work.
do that for like maybe guilt?
Yes, absolutely.
Of not
because
being home?
they miss so much that they don't want to be mean. They don't want to discipline. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
And the poor mom has to like, wear that hat and
Yes.
be the one.
I did that for 19
Me too.
years.
And it's not always fun. I'm always like, I would like to get down there and play with them and let them, eat popcorn and smear it on my ground. But unfortunately, I have to be the one to pick it up.
Clean it up.
Clean it up. Yeah. I'm always like, no, don't do that. So it always
Yeah.
makes you look like that,
Yeah.
you're the mean parent.
Well, I'll tell you the turning point for me, and I'm only saying this just because I'm in a different place than what everybody else is, but the turning point for me was one day, and for my husband, this really hit him hard, is, our kids were older, he had been gone, he came home, he was doing something, maybe it was a day off, whatever, and he said something, and my oldest actually looked at him and said, I don't have to listen to you because you were never home, and mom is the one who does everything.
Yeah, I remember you
And
telling me
that hit him like a ton of bricks. So if I can help you to avoid that, and that has changed a lot.
So for the good, though, because it seems like the truth hurt.
Yes,
And so he was
It
maybe
hurt.
reevaluated himself. And said, oh,
absolutely he
yeah.
did.
So
And
actually it helped by her making that comment.
and it was hard for him, and it was hard for him to admit that he would have to change some things, and he did. And he does a lot with our kids now, as much as he can.
How would you feel if the question was the same question, but like, how would you feel if your husband came home and all he did was discipline? And that's the relationship that he had with the
Well, I
kids.
imagine there is because sometimes when you're in law enforcement, they police everything.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
That turns
hard
in.
to-
So I
hard to
mean, that
switch
can
that.
work both ways. Like,
Yeah.
be careful what you wish for.
True.
I mean, there has to be a healthy mix of parenting there.
Yeah.
I mean, I
A
think
happy medium for
yeah,
sure.
you really need to touch base with your spouse and say, look, this is how I'm feeling about this, and this is what I'm seeing with our kids, and it's rubbing off. So we need to talk about some solutions here, what's going to work for us, because this ain't working.
Or even back the spouse up if he doesn't really want to be the lead discipliner. Just at least maybe back her up.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things that has really helped us is whenever your kids are acting out or they need to be disciplined, the spouse has to back up the other spouse. And that shows your children that you are on the same page.
Teamwork.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then if you
it
don't
does.
agree, you could talk about it later.
Yeah. But I think even if you don't agree with your spouse, you have to back them up in front of your children so that they know that you're on the same team. And then they say, oh, well, dad's kind of being the bad guy now, too, because he's
Yeah.
agreeing with what mom
Right.
says.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
It
that's
takes
helpful.
a lot of work.
It does take
A
a lot
lot
of
of work.
A lot of patience. 'Cause,
Yes.
I mean, I've been in that situations before, and sometimes I don't always wait. I just spat out, I'm always trying to be the bad guy or, whatever. Sometimes I don't wait to talk to him at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Sometimes my frustration builds up, and I'm just like,
And you have all
Yeah.
these ideas and thoughts running through your head. Like,
Yeah.
I don't save him, girl. I just
you
spill
need
them
to
out.
be respectful. You need to. Yeah, I get it.
So at the end of the day, we are human sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
absolutely. That's why I say give yourself some grace. And I mean, a lot of these questions too, or all these questions too, can also turn back to communication, obviously.
Yep.
Trust.
Yes.
Trust your spouse. Trust yourself. Trust the confidence. Just trust. Trust their relationships at work. Trust that they're going to do the right things. Trust that they're going to put you first. Just trust, and then obviously respect. Because if you and trust somebody, you can respect somebody, and if you respect somebody, you can love somebody.
Yes.
Because you can't love somebody without respecting them. Boom, mic drop.
Yeah.
For someone who's off her game, she's on her game.
know.
That's right. She said,
It's that fist
mic
stick,
drop.
girl.
We are always here for you to talk it out, ladies.
yes.
Yes.
Give any more questions, send them in. We are happy to answer them.
Yeah, that was fun.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
our perspective. I mean, imagine.
There's a lot of things we don't think about too, and then when we read your questions, we're like, oh, I never thought about it from that way, just because we haven't experienced it. So we love your questions, so keep them coming in. If you want to reach us, you can go to our Facebook page at Blueline Real Estate Services in Central Ohio, or you could email us at bluelinegroupofohio@gmail.com.
Yes. And we are having
A guest.
a guest next week. A dispatcher.
Yes.
She's a Leo and a Leo's spouse and a dispatcher.
So she sees all sides of it. That'll be a great show.
It will be. I'm excited because we've always had these questions for dispatchers and never
Yeah.
be our first dispatcher on. Exciting, right? You still with us, Jamie?
No.
Like you just zoned. You still with us?
No, girl, I'm tired.
Okay. Well, we are live from LEPD Firearm and Range on Bethel Road right here in Columbus, Ohio. And remember, if you have any lending, insurance, or real estate needs, we are your folks. We are your Blue Line group. So until next time, we will see you then.
Everybody stay safe. Have a great week.